Tom, did I hear you canceled your trip to Springfield, Ohio?
Yeah. I'm on a diet, and I refuse to eat dog and cats.
Welcome to GayTalk 2.0, the ultimate podcast for your dose of dish.
Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome back to another episode of GayTalk 2.0, an LGBT podcast. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel for all of our Patreon supporters. We thank you for that support because you guys are our lifeline. And we have an exciting show for you today. All I have to say is trigger warning, it might get a little emotional at some point throughout the show. So I just have to put it out there from the beginning. We will be at some point throughout the episode talking about suicide. So if this is something that you are triggered by, or you might have, some sort of emotional reaction to, you may want to sort of kind of, not listen to it live and sort of kind of make sure that you're in a good headspace before we move forward. That said, my name is Tom, and I'm your host. And as always, I'm in the studio with my amazing co-host.
Hey, y'all, Nick or Trish.
And we have a special guest who is here to talk about suicide prevention, Maureen Crick-Owen, who is joining us. Maureen, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It is exciting. So before we get started, usually what we do is we do a quick roundtable. And we sort of kind of talk about the last week. How have you been? What's going on? So I normally toss it to them first, but since you are in the studio, Maureen, how are you?
Well, I'm doing very well. Getting ready to head off to Napa on Sunday for a wine tasting, lots of wine tastings.
California or?
California.
Oh, I was going to say, wait, California, or are we going to Italy?
No, well, that I would like to do, but no, it's California this time.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that. I was just in the city. I don't know if I was with my nephew Adam and his fiance Alex, and we went to the elephant migration exhibit. Have you guys heard about it?
No. Do tell.
It's so cool.
Do tell.
They are life-size elephants, both adults and babies. And what it is there's 100 of them, and they are made out of this invasive plant. What do they call? Hold on, I want to tell you what it's called. It's okay. I can't see my notes here, but anyway, so good for my notes, right?
They're made out of invasive plants.
They are made out of invasive plants. I'm not sure what the country is, but anyway, they're made, and they look like long twigs, and they've been bent and shaped into elephants. It is absolutely beautiful. It is to raise money and help this organization. So they started in Newport, Rhode Island. They are now in New York City in the meatpacking district. And then from there, they go to Miami Beach, and then to Browning, Montana, and then their final stop will be in Los Angeles. Nice. And I have to say, it was really, really cool to say. If you Google it, elephant migration, you'll find it on the internet.
So you said there's over 100 of them,
yes,
right?
on display.
So how
you can
long?
buy an elephant.
Yes, you can buy one.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to get through the exhibit?
Oh, not long. It all depends on. Adam was hysterical because they had these QR codes, and if you did all 5 QR codes, you get a sticker.
Oh, you definitely know I was going to get my sticker, right? I'm like, scan.
Yeah, so we spent, I don't know, a half hour wandering and looking, and this is open to the public. It's free.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're out in the street, not in the street itself, but on the sidewalks, or if there's an island, they're there. It's really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you did that this past week.
Yep.
And so that obviously that was in the city.
And from there, we walked from the meatpacking district to Little Italy because the San Gennaro Festival was going on. Mm-hmm. And we got there, we were wandering, and we wanted to go to a restaurant in Little Italy. So we headed right to the restaurant. And this is brings back memories when Adam, Mitch, my nephews, Matt, Willie, and Ben were all young. We used to go into the city all the time. And for their 10th birthday, that was what they got from me. I took them into the city. So when I started with Matt, it was just Matt and I. Then Will, it was just Will and I. Ben, it was Matt, Will, Ben, and me. And then as I got to the twins, Adam and Mitchell, well, then it was Matt, because I had little ones with me. I had Matt, Matt, Adam, Mitchell, and my niece, Emily. And the 5 of us had a blast. We stay overnight, and I'm going to say this because Adam knows that I love to bust him on him, is we were in the hotel, and we all cram into one hotel room, and there's the Empire State Building.
Oh, wow.
But no, Adam says, oh, look, it's the Eiffel Tower.
Oh,
So we have never let him forget it.
Adam, wrong city.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
wrong
that
city.
happened when he was 10?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still not going to give him a break, but
No, we don't give him a break. So it was a very fun day.
So that's awesome. So this has been sort of kind of like a tradition for you and your nephews and nieces to go into the city
Yep.
and
It
do
has.
these kind of trips.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, going into the city can be very, very, how would I say, stimulating in the sense that people get frazzled very easily in the city.
I think it's, first of all, I love New York City.
Right.
And it's just something I started and just started doing it with the kids. And if they wanted to go, hey, I'm happy to take you.
That's wonderful. I used to go into the city a lot as a young man and party and
some
party.
of your stories are a little different than her stories.
Yeah, no, I know, but there are a lot of things to see in the city, and
Yes.
I truly enjoyed it.
Yes.
It's not my experience today. I went in not too long ago, and the hustle and bustle, and especially after, I mean, we were just talking about, the effects of COVID
Yes.
and coming out of, isolation and how that impacts you. It's not the same experience in the city for me anymore.
That's funny that you say that because we walked out of the restaurant, which was right on Mulberry Street, which is right where the whole San Gennaro Festival. When we walked in, it wasn't super crowded. When we came out of the restaurant, it was shoulder to shoulder. And the 3 of us said, this is not for me. And we literally got off onto a side road and just got out of there.
Well, New York is like finally, it's almost back to like pre-pandemic numbers because a lot of people moved out of New York.
Yes.
And it's back. It's crazy when
Yep.
you go. Those streets are packed. People are going to see shows again. Like it's happening
Yes.
in New York again.
Hence why we have a shortage of available properties for sale, and everything turns into a bidding war because people from the city literally like took off and went to
Yes.
suburbs and started buying property, and we're getting out of the city. And you try to buy a house today, and it's like,
Yeah, I know.
it goes for like 70, 80,000 over market value. And you're like, oh my God.
More than that.
Yeah, I feel like, I bought at a very opportune time. It was 2017 when I purchased this home. I paid $180 for it.
Perfect.
I could
worth
sell
like-
it for like $400,000 if I
Yeah.
wanted to right now.
If you wanted to, but then where are you going to go?
Exactly.
And how much more are you going to pay?
Right.
Yeah.
Because the houses that you're buying today are going to be at that. So no, I'm here.
Also, I have stock in this house, so
Yeah.
you have to run it by me.
He literally has a lighting preset. He's got stock. So Maureen, I'm excited for you. I'm glad that you were able to get out there and go to the city and enjoy your family and the festival, and that's awesome. And to see this exhibit, it sounds amazing. We should take a road trip. Totally do.
Also, it was called Lantana Camara.
That's it.
That's
Fabulous.
the
Thank-
weed.
Yeah. The invasive plant.
Yes.
That all of these, sculptures of elephants are made out of.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that story. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Nick, how are you, darling?
I'm fine.
I feel like I haven't seen you in a century, but it was only last week.
Yeah, it was only last week, and you saw me a little high.
So, so for those of you who have not been living under a rock, last week was the debate, right? It was the one and only debate that the current Vice President Kamala Harris had with the former president Donald Trump, and so Nick and I were like, okay, well, we're just sort of gonna message each other throughout the debate and bounce things off of each other. And Nick decided that he was going to do something different this time around.
Yeah, no, you called me right before it started. You called me right before it started, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I need to relax. I'm going to take a gummy. So like gummies are a new thing with Tom and I.
Yes.
So we went to New York recently, and we Mass.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And we bought gummies. To try. Mainly for me, it was like I wanted something that would help me sleep and like stay asleep. And now I'm like, oh, these work great.
Yeah.
Like I take one, and like 2 to 3 hours later, I'm like, I'm ready for bed. I stay asleep. It's great. But I took it and then watched the debate. And so he FaceTimes me, and I'm like, I'm so high right now. Watching this debate. But honestly, like it was good. Kamala did a great job. Mamala did a good job.
She did.
But again, I just feel like these debates have become like such a spectacle. Like it's not like, you know what I mean? They get caught up in their like.
I just think, she came with a plan. Right?
Oh, clearly.
The plan was, she's going to lay out her platform, what she's going to, advocate for as, a candidate for the presidency and potential president, right? But she came with a plan, and that plan was to use things that we know this man gets triggered by. And the moment this woman mentioned crowd sizes, he lost it.
Oh my God, it was bad.
That was it.
Yeah, no.
It was game over. He couldn't get or move away from that. And I was just like, wow.
I just loved when the facilitators kept fact checking him.
Right.
And I was just like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah, they should have done it at the first debate.
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't. Yeah. And it's interestingly enough to think of how we got here, right? With Kamala and now being being at the top of the ticket for the Democratic Party because the first debate was such, oh my God, it was a train wreck.
Yes.
At least for Biden, and I feel like,
No, for both of them, but Biden specifically.
But I mean, think about one person who I believe, has had one of the most consequential presidencies in U.S. history, with regards to the policies that have been passed, the legislation that has been passed to help the American people, and to see
what a concept,
right? And to see that this is how this man was brought down by a simple debate, with someone who's just, I don't know, I don't even know what to say.
But I also looked at with Biden stepping aside as one of the bravest decisions a person has made, in that he was really looking out for the citizens of the United States.
Of course.
And
to put your ego aside at that level.
And
that's exactly
right.
it. People at that level, it's the power that gets to them. And he put that all aside and did what was right for the country. And for that, I applaud him.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, I've always loved, I've called him Uncle Joe for God knows how long. I can remember since the Obama presidency, I think. And, and that's the thing, when you are in the echelons of that kind of power, right, to let it go, it is so difficult.
It
and
is.
For him to make that decision, it was very selfless.
Yes.
As you said, is one of the, he did it because he knew he had to.
Yes.
Exactly. And he was the right person to do it. I don't think that any other person in power, including the current Republican nominee, would ever do that.
I will say that I do. Following the debate, I think pre-debate, there was already a plan in place. Like, honestly, because right after that debate, I started getting all of the Mamala text messages.
Oh my God.
About would we, stand behind Kamala, all of this stuff, all the surveys. And I'm like, and I told you, I literally said, we were sitting here and you're like, no, I don't know. I was like, no, I think he's going to step down, and I think he's going to endorse Kamala.
And he did it. And it was the speed in which he did it too, right? Not even 26 minutes passed, and he was already posting on social media saying, I endorse my vice president for president of the United States, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So,
One of my sister is like my family. I love them, but my family. My sister is like a hardcore Trumper. I would say I don't want to say uneducated, but misinformed Trumper. And she texted me. She's like, "Oh well, it's over. Taylor Swift endorsed him. She's gonna win now." And I was like, "Thank God." Like, what do you want? What do you want to hear from me? I'm like, he gotta go.
So you're having a journey with edibles.
Yeah.
And
we're
you
back
watch.
here.
Back to where we started.
You see how we get lost very quickly? It happens in a flash. So you're having a journey with edibles. You watch the debate, somewhat incapacitated.
No,
How was that experience, though?
I mean, honestly, it was fine. I was more relaxed, so I wasn't like yelling at the TV.
Yeah. Well, at least you yell at the TV. I throw things at mine.
Yeah.
Oh, it's it's bad.
But then I was able to go to sleep and relax and not have to like be up all night like stewing at the stupidity that came out of that man's mouth, or just general stuff that was being posted on Facebook by my family or other people in my life. And I'm like,
or hence why our opener, I'm not going to Springfield, Ohio. I'm on a diet. I'm not entertaining the idea that people that are going there are, or that ended up there
the thing is like
legally are eating cats and dogs.
yeah, but the thing is like people believe it.
Of course.
That's the problem.
scary
That's
thing,
that's the scary thing. And they even fact checked that and said they had reached out to the mayor or whatever of that town.
I think it was the town manager.
And that was not true at all.
No, we have not.
And it's insane. And he doubled down on national television. And then, you have his Republican running mate, J.D. Vance, is that his name? Now going out there and just literally just pushing that narrative, like they're doubling down. And I'm like, wow, just wow.
Yeah.
So I love your journey.
Thank you.
Like
your
you said,
Ozempic journey, my edible journey.
down to 248. I'm excited.
Good for you.
It's the lowest I've been in
Since we started the podcast.
a decade. It's insane. That is magic. I don't know what is in it. All I can tell you is
I'm gonna keep putting it in my body, which is great. Like
I'm gonna inject it wherever you want me to inject it. It's going in. It's life.
Yes.
Like you forget. I have reminders on my phone to say eat something. So,
You're-
actually, the reminder
like-
says eat something, you skinny bitch.
I love that for you.
That's what it says.
Whatever works.
It brings me joy.
That's the important part.
So I had told that woman, SIRI, because I can't say her name, everything will go nuts in here, to call me from now on, call me your most gracious majesty.
Mine calls me Prince Nicholas, so
So it says, once in a blue moon over the myriad of speakers that I have all over there, so it's like, your most gracious majesty. Eat something, you skinny.
I love that.
And all I keep thinking to myself is like, can you imagine Queen Elizabeth in her palace in Richmond somewhere, and she's got all these little apple, things all over, and and the thing is telling her is like, girl, go get your crown, put it on. I can't. But yes, it's the little things that bring me joy in life.
I think for all of us.
Before I toss it over to you to talk about your crazy weekend at Home Depot.
No, we're not talking about that today. We promised that we were going to be very civilized today
You
because
promised
of the
that.
nature.
You promised that. I know, Maureen.
Okay.
I did want to just share, because I think we jumped in really quick, that Maureen and I do have a connection
Yes.
You
for
do.
a long time.
Very long time.
I dated her nephew, Matt, who passed away from suicide, and that's why she's joining us. We'll talk more about that on the second half of the show. But just to give a little backstory about Adam, Mitchell, Willie, and everybody, like these are the people that she's talking about, her nephews that were Matt's brothers. And so, yes, Maureen and I have known each other for a long time. Actually, in fact, Matt went to the city with Maureen. And there's a photo of him wearing my fucking scarf, which I never got back.
Oh, I know that scarf.
But yeah, no. So I just wanted to share that we do have a deeper connection. And Maureen, we are so happy to have you here.
He wants it back. Right.
No, that scarf was no. But it's just funny to look back and like every time you bring up your trips to New York, I just think of that picture.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
That's amazing. Do you really want me to talk about Home Depot?
I don't know. I mean,
No.
Maureen, how comfortable are you? There might be a little sexual content.
It's fine.
Okay.
You guys do what you guys always do.
Nick, why do you do this to me?
Because
Okay.
you tell me things before the show and you shouldn't.
Oh, there's a lesson there for you.
Clearly. So here's the thing. So I am obsessed with wireless lights and colorful lights, and I like to put them all over the place and tell my friend SIRI to just do magic, and I love it. And so I bought these lights, and unfortunately the plug is on the wrong side of the light. It starts on the left instead of the right. Govey, what's wrong with you? And so that means that if I start the lights from the end of my fence, which is 70 feet away, I have to plug it in 70 feet away to the right. And so I was going to all the home improvement stores looking for an extension cable so that I can plug my lights where they're supposed to be plugged into and run it all the way down and start the lights where they're supposed to start so that everything looks nice and pretty and rainbows and unicorns and the whole 9 yards. And
While this project started innocently.
Yes, I went to Lowe's first, and I couldn't find anything. So then I transitioned over to Home Depot, which I call the HomoDepot, and
For a good reason.
And I was running around the aisles looking for this cable and asking employees to assist me in seeing maybe if they had it or whatnot, and they didn't. And there's this gentleman. I'll call him a gentleman. I think that's acceptable. He's running around, very handsome, very well fit, shorts where like his bulge was noticeable. You can tell this man wasn't wearing underwear. And so I'm like, oh God, I'm flustered. I feel all the feels. I'm sweating. I'm walking
Like
through
you are now?
Yes.
You can tell the story.
Yeah.
And I'm walking through the aisles, and then I realize that, initially, I thought this straight guy, he's doing his thing. He's looking for lighting. I'm looking for lighting. We just happen to be in the same place at the same time. And I'm just like, I got to get away from this guy. And I'm walking through the aisles, and then I start realizing ends up in the same aisles that I am in.
Continuously.
And this thing just is in my face. And I can't get it out of my face, and I can't help but stare at it. And he's looking at me, and I'm looking at it. And anyway, I don't want to get into all the crazy details. We hooked up.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's
and it was fabulous.
Here's what I found interesting about the story. Okay, so have you ever heard of misconnections? Do you know what misconnections are on Craigslist? So Craigslist, back when I guess I was in high school and college, there were these things called misconnections. And so people would post a story on Craigslist, and it would be like, I saw you at the Starbucks. You were wearing blah, 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 blah. I think you're the love of my life. I can't stop thinking about you. Kind of and so people would go and be read these stories. Some people would actually connect. Some people wouldn't, whatever. But so I'm thinking about this, and you're telling me this story, and you're like, but you took it a step further. You literally were like, you know what? I'm just going to jump on Grindr real quick.
I did. So, so I found a profile that said you're 0 feet away from me. And I'm like, would you happen to be the guy with the short pants and the big bulge that just it's in my face and you keep following me all over the store? Is that you? You're fabulous.
Moral of the story, it was.
It was fabulous, glorious.
But
anyway, yeah, I didn't.
Just a typical day at the HomoDepot with Tom.
Yeah. Thank God for them sheds outside.
I can't. I'm sorry, Maureen, but we had to get a little.
That's.
Here I I am with the shed brochure. It's like, oh, this one is 10 by 6. I was like, oh, this one would fit in my backyard. Oh, this one is only 6 by 6. Yeah, we don't want this one. I need more. I have a whole lawnmower to fit in there. Yeah, no, it was tragic. I can't believe you made it.
So I'll do an embarrassing one if you want me to.
Please,
Okay.
please.
So
Off
I
you
think
go.
I think I might have mentioned this last week or the week before, but Maureen, on the day of Matt's funeral, did you hear about
We've talked about this.
the
Yes.
camera?
No, I did not hear about that.
You did not hear about this.
No.
Okay. So this is embarrassing for me. Okay. So anyway, so
Her face.
Matt and I had gone to Florida, and I was down there for like 3-something weeks or something like that. And I ended up coming home early because I was like, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to be down here. And so me and Matt arranged to because he was still living at home, like whatever. So we got a hotel for the night. And it was a glorious night. We had a great time. The details there, you don't need to know. But
No, when it comes to family, I don't need to know.
But he had just gotten this digital camera. And he took photos of me that night, which
Salacious photos.
I didn't even think about, right, at that point. But he had passed away with the phone in his pant pocket.
The camera.
Or the camera, sorry, it's not a phone at that time. And so everything came back from the corner, you know what I mean? And so I'm sitting at the kitchen table in Lisa and Mike's old house, and I turn on his camera and I'm going through it, and I'm like, fuck. And I just look up, and Mike and Lisa are like, uh-huh. And I was like, no! Like, what? Oh my God, I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, I never heard that story.
Probably for good reason. They probably didn't want to embarrass me any more than I probably already was.
Yeah,
But I'll never forget that. I was like, fuck.
It's times like that where it's like, I need a gummy.
Well, the gummies weren't really a thing back then.
No.
No, I don't think
Pot wasn't legal.
it wasn't legal in any state back then.
No.
Right? But oh my God. Can you imagine? I would
I
have been
mean,
What were you,
burn it.
1920 when that happened? Oh,
I think I was about 20.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Burn the camera. Throw it in the fire.
yeah.
No, I looked good back then. I kept that photo.
Do you still have it?
I don't think so.
It's probably in a hard drive somewhere. You just
maybe.
have to look.
Oh my God.
Where there's a will, there's a way. So, Maureen, I'm sorry that we had to put you through that.
Oh, no problem.
Oh my God. But that was an incredible, very heart-filled and joyful and seemingly embarrassing first half. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get to the business at hand. We will be right back. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back from the break. Thank you for allowing us to do that. We needed to refresh and do all the good things that we do while we're on break. Coming back on the second half of the show, it is, National Suicide Prevention Month. And as such, we had asked Maureen to join us on the show today. And Maureen is here. We're going to talk about Newtown's Suicide Prevention Initiative as a result of what we're trying to do here on the show. And I want to take an opportunity to once again thank Maureen for joining us to talk about something that in some way, shape, or form has touched us personally, each one of us here on the show. And thank you for doing the work that you do. Thank you for picking up the mantle and running with it and doing what you're doing, because I think it's important for people to realize that, the work that needs to be done typically is often done by people who don't have the necessary resources in place, but have the heart and the drive to go out there and have the important conversation about what needs to happen and what people need to hear when it comes to suicide and prevention. So, it is a very touchy subject. So once again, I just want to throw it out there. If you are triggered by conversations like this, I think it's time for you to sort of kind of exit and go left and then come back to it when you have a gummy or
just listen with,
yeah.
earmuffs on.
Yeah, with an open heart. So Trish, or Nick, I should throw it over to you, and in case you want to, add
let's
anything
just
personal
jump
on
into
yourself.
jump into the deep end, right?
Sure.
So I want to talk about the initiative. I think it's very important. But I first want to talk a little bit about why. So why are you so passionate about this? And, I know we know the answer.
Yes,
but
we do.
I would love for you to share your story a little bit.
So my brother Mike and his wife Lisa have 5 children. Matt was the firstborn. He was my godson and also my nephew. And Matt and I, well, I have a special bond with all the kids, and they're always going to be kids to me. I don't care how old they are. I'm sorry, Nick, you're still a kid to me.
Oh, God.
Facts.
So, as I said, Matt was the firstborn. He was the first grandchild on our, in the Crick side. And he and I just had a great bond. And he started to show signs of struggling with mental health. I always had this not sinking, that's not the right word. I always had this gut feeling that Matt was gay. Mm-hmm. And I knew this from when he was barely 6.
Right.
And when he came out to me, I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get over that hump. We're going to make it through. And in fact, I don't know if you know this, Nick, but when he called me, it was the gentleman before you, he called me, he goes, I met somebody. And I said, is it a boy or a girl? That's what I said to him. He goes, how do you know? I said, Matt. I grew up with you. Come on. So anyway, I said, okay, things are going to get better because you probably remember this, but Matt always had a stomach ache. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I felt that was a sign. And anyway, so fast forward, unfortunately, in February 27th, 2007, Matt died by suicide. Right. And so this has become, sadly, a passion of mine. What our family went through, what Nick went through, is not something I would want to see any other family go through. And so that's how, not this initiative started, but that's how some other things started for me. I ended up in a support group with American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I was struggling. Mm-hmm. And now I think back and I'm like, oh my God, if I was struggling, how were you handling it? I can't even think about what Mike and Lisa were doing with 4 other young children.
Right.
What were the twins? Barely 10?
They were so young,
Right.
yeah.
They were very young. So I had gotten involved through the Survivors of Suicide, because that's what we're called, a support group. I'm not a support group person, but I went for 2 years. And I learned a lot about what other people went through, very similar themes. Some families didn't even know their child or sibling or parent was struggling. Mm-hmm. And so I learned a lot. And I did some things with a group after that, and then kind of just really didn't do too much. In 2019, my friend, Anna Wiedemann, reached out to me and she said, I want to meet with the various department heads of the town. We need to start doing something for our seniors. That's where she was concerned. Yeah. Because of loneliness, or you're a widow and you're on your own and you can't drive, you can't get out. I said, I will help you. I'll do whatever.
Right. Really quickly, I do want to pause for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
I want to take a step back because I want to highlight something that I think is very important. And you and I actually talked about this on the phone the other day. My mother couldn't comprehend why Matt took his life. And her first reaction was, oh, his family wasn't supportive.
Oh.
Right? His family wasn't, as an LGBTQ plus individual, his family wasn't supportive. And I looked at my mom and I was like, Mom, they were more supportive than you are to me, or you were to me. It took years for me and my parents to get to where we are. And I think just owning that and saying that in the space is important because Matt was struggling with mental health.
Yes, he was.
Could some of that have been because of the fact that he was gay? Maybe.
Could it be?
But it is very important to own the fact that he was very much supported, and this still happened.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And that's one of the things, I'll never forget the first night I went to the support group. the facilitator was not a professional, which is fine, but she was a nurse, and her brother died by suicide. And she said, in as much as I have all my nursing background, I couldn't do anything to help him, and she helped him. So sometimes it happens. And so what they explained to me that night is, and I'm never going to say it as well as she said it, but it has stayed with me. She said, it's like the chemo didn't work on the cancer. And they're in so much pain. That's the only way they know out. And so the chemo didn't work for Matt. And he was in such pain. I hope no one ever feels that way. And he chose to die. And the one thing for a lot of people say committed suicide, it's not. It's died by suicide. Commit is a crime. This is not a crime.
Right.
So there are people that do say that. That's a pet peeve of mine.
That's actually a really, really good
It's a really good point to point out, because, you know, when you think about someone struggling with mental health, with,
Yes.
you know, society, right?
Yes.
A lot of the things that in my experience, trigger people feeling not enough, feeling like they don't belong, feeling
Yes.
like, you know, you don't have a place, is basically due to societal norms and the pressures that society and certain groups place on others.
Yes.
Right. The way policy is written, the way politics are run, the way religion is put into specific
It's
path.
weaponized.
It is.
It can be.
You're weaponizing a lot of different aspects of our society to look at someone and say, you're not enough. You don't belong. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I think there are definitely two layers to this, right? I mean, Matt, I think, was clinically depressed, and
Yes.
I think that there was
He had anxiety.
it was
Oh,
and I'll never forget it. It was be like, stop taking the Xanax, take both of your drugs,
yeah.
take
no.
everything. But you know, that said, I think that there's, you know, clinical depression,
Yeah.
which can lead to this, but then there's also societal norms, societal pressure, and bullying that can lead to this. So,
Of course.
so it's really, I don't think we need to distinct the two, but I think it's really important to note that, you know, there are different circumstances which can continually lead to this, whether you think your child or your friend or family member is mentally ill. It might not be that. It might be something going on in their life.
Right. I mean, I've always said that, you know, we are a product, and we're also reactive to our environment, what's around us, what we surround ourselves with, what we are exposed to, whether we want to or not. That all has an effect on how you react to your environment, right? And you know, living in a world in which we do today, it's kind of hard to sort of kind of, you know, throw it all to the side and say, you know what, I'm not going to let this frazzle me. I'm not going to let this get to me. I'm not going to let this ruin my day. It happens.
It does happen.
You know?
Absolutely. And I think, now, again, I wasn't in Matt's head, but I also think sometimes, you know, I remember Mike said 2 days ago he was out shopping for new clothes. Sometimes I think it's a perfect storm. Everything comes crashing. And I'm not what's the word? I'm not a professional in this subject, but I've heard enough, talked to enough people that you know, you start to hear some of those common themes. And I just think sometimes, again, does it happen that way for everybody? I don't know that answer. But I just think sometimes everything comes crashing down around you. We've all had days like that where everything just feels overwhelming. I'm like, I just want to go to sleep and wake up and have it be a new day, and hopefully it feels better.
Right.
But to go on like that for days and feel that bad, you know, it's, yeah.
Let me say something. You just said you said something that really made me think. You're not a professional,
No, I'm not.
right? And that's okay. It's great that you admit that, because that's important to know. However, your experience
Yes.
in the matter, I think outweighs the professionalism that comes with studying this. Because you can study something until you're blue in the face, but until you experience it,
You'll never know.
you know, it's that saying, right? You know, let me walk in your shoes and then I will tell you,
Bingo. That's how
Right.
I feel.
right?
Yes.
And you've walked the walk, you've walked in the shoes of someone who has lost someone that was dear to you. And you can't, I mean, you wouldn't want to put a price on that, but you can't put a price on the knowledge that you've gained as a result of your experience.
Right.
And to walk out into the world, into a community, for example, like Newtown. I mean, we all remember, you know,
The tragedy.
2012.
Yeah.
Right? And what occurred in Newtown and how we lost beautiful angels that weren't even 6 and 7 years old.
I know.
Right? And that community in itself has already been through so much. Right? And continues to do so even at the hands of individuals who refuse to acknowledge that even happened.
I know.
Right? And for you to experience that and then experience, you know, the loss of your nephew, there's no experience in the world. There's no professionalism in the world. There's no course in the world that can teach you to walk the path that you have had to walk your entire life.
Yeah. Just as a side note, with the tragedy, I don't know if you know this, but I am president of one of the local cemeteries, and I've been doing that for 30 some odd years. That week after the tragedy, I did things I never thought I would be doing. I don't do the day-to-day operations. And I worked down there all week long, watching these families bury these very young babies and keeping the journalists, the media, away from them. And some of it's been blocked out, just like there's probably bits and pieces of Matt that my brain has protected me on.
Right.
And, but yeah, so while I wasn't right in the middle of that of that tragedy, I was a part of it
Right.
by helping these families. And that, I can't imagine. I have no idea. It's like I didn't walk in their shoes. I don't know what that feels like. I only know what mine feels like.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I think what Tom said was, you know, completely right when it comes to, you know, professionals versus, you know, people who have experienced something and gone through something. But what you can't teach or learn is compassion.
Right.
No.
And I think that this initiative was born from a place of compassion.
Yes.
And even when it comes to that simple story, which you can share if you want to, that you told me earlier about someone who had never spoke about
Yes.
what they had gone through.
Yes.
They spoke about that because you opened yourself up, your heart to them.
Yes.
And that in some places and in some moments is more important
Yes.
than that clinical PhD.
That's yes. So as part of this initiative, Anna and I went around and we talked to the Lions Club, the Women's Club, you know, the various different organizations. And I think it was the Lions Club. It was a small, maybe, I don't know, Lions or Rotary, one of them. And it was a small group, maybe 15 people. And I got up and I talked about what we had done, what we wanted to do. And then then I always move on to the personal side of it. And I talk about Matt. And it's also healing for me to continue to talk about Matt. And one gentleman at the table started talking about his nephew who had died by suicide. And all of a sudden he says, and he's talking in front of the group, and he said, you know, he died 4 years ago, and this is the first time I've talked about it. And I was like, yes, that's success.
Right.
That is moving forward, because one of the other problems with suicide is the stigma that's attached to it.
Right.
Yep.
And that's the part I want to see that go away. People will say, oh, people will say, oh, they were selfish by dying by suicide. There's no selfishness in it. There's no selfishness in that act. They are hurting so bad. But so, yes. So anytime we can talk about it and bring it out in the open and make a tiny step forward, That's progress to me. And that's having that guy come out and say that. Yes.
We actually, it's interesting that you say it the way you say it, is because we on the show, we talk about continuing conversation around all LGBTQ plus issues, not just suicide,
Right.
but everything. And I think the reason we do that is because we have to continue the conversation so that we can reduce stigma around
Yes.
what our community faces, not just people that face suicide, right? There's a huge stigma there, but I think the concept of stigma is so ingrained in
Yes.
our culture.
Yes.
And if we can't continue to have these conversations, if you can't get people to come out and have these conversations with you, right, how are we going to reduce that stigma?
Right.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the point of the initiative.
That's
right?
correct.
This
That's it. It's reduce the stigma and bring awareness to it. And there is what they call QPR, which is, it's a training you can take, which I have taken. It's question, persuade, and refer. So if you think somebody is having difficulty, you question them. And it's okay to say, are you thinking about killing yourself? It's okay to be that direct. Persuade them to go get help. And if not, then you have to refer them. You have to literally take them so that you can help. And it goes back to compassion. You got to care enough about people.
Right.
And unfortunately, as we talked earlier before, I don't know, ever since the pandemic, people are just not nice anymore for some reason. The way people drive, no manners, nobody holds doors, nobody helps people.
Right.
I mean,
There's a disconnect for sure.
there is.
Right.
I do think that, and I don't want to walk down this road right now, but I do think a lot of that behavior comes out of our political climate.
Yes. Oh, I absolutely agree with you on
Agreed.
that.
Agreed.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
It's a combination. Again, it's never one thing. It's things of it's a lot of things that come together.
Oh yeah,
It's the how would I say,
you just said it.
the
perfect
conundrum
storm,
that
right?
is
It's a
that
perfect
is
storm.
environment, right?
It gives people permission.
Right. The environment
Yeah.
itself in which you grow up, in which you surround yourself with, is what really exposes you to how you react.
Before
right?
let's be quite frank here. Before Trump, we had come so far
Yes.
in the LGBTQ
Agreed.
plus community. I'm not going to say in the liberal community, but I'm going to say in the human rights sector, right? We had
course.
come so far.
Right.
But his rhetoric and what he brought to the political stage gave people permission once again to persecute others.
Of course, and it puts an emphasis, or at least what the party is pushing, that side of the political arena is pushing, is that it gives someone permission to ostracize other communities, in the hopes that people will see that their message, their party, their identity is more important than anything else in the world and anything else in this country. And it's scary because even in today's political landscape, you have individuals that are currently facing or having to confront family members, right? And think to myself, I love these people, but these people are actively supporting an individual that may go against who I am at the core of as a human.
And I think
and how do I fit in that world?
Right.
Right.
And it's really important that I know we have a specific conversation we're talking about today, but I think it's important that we're highlighting that rhetoric and that situation that we find ourselves in, because we also are finding ourselves in a really drastic increased rate of suicide and or people that are thinking about suicide.
Yeah, I was reading some of the statistics in the, by the way, kudos to you because you've brought so much information here that is just amazing. But the above are as of 2020, right? These are the statistics as of 2020 according to the AFSP.org statistics. 15th leading cause of death in Connecticut.
It moved up in 2022. It's as of 2022, we are now 14th. That is the 14th leading. So it's gone up.
It's insane to think that so many families are affected, and yet this is a conversation that we barely speak about.
That's exactly right. So I try to do things in little small ways. So in Newtown, we have a Labor Day parade every year. It's a huge deal. It goes right by my home. And so this year, again, another bubble popped up in my brain and said, put a table out. I put my bracelets out and I put my pamphlets out, and I have a couple yard signs that go along. And a lot of kids took them. And there was 4 high school football players that stopped and took it. I don't know what made me do this. I didn't sit near the table, because sometimes if nobody's there, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I popped up to those 4 kids and I went over and I said, do you know what this is about? And they said, yes. I said, okay, you guys take care of each other. Take care of your friends. That's all I said. And they go, yes, yes, ma'am. That made me feel old. So, and the other part is, a lady picked up my brochure, and turns out they were doing a mass at our local Catholic church. She didn't know anything about us. Doing a mass at our local Catholic church, and wanted some brochures, and the mass, specific mass, was in memory of those that died by suicide. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend the mass, but I am going to follow up and see what else we can do to help them. So sometimes it's those little connections that make me feel like, oh, this is good. One more thing.
Yeah.
Because lots of times different organizations, they all work in silos and nobody talks to one another.
Right.
And so I'm trying to talk to a lot of people.
And it's an endeavor to get different organizations to get it all in the same room and say, you know, hey, we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah, we are.
Let's get together and, you know, really form a really great coalition, and then tackle the problem with resources beyond what we could have amassed individually.
Yes, and there are plenty of organizations out there, not like mine, but, you know, NAMI is one of them. Connecticut has different regions. I follow the Region 5 for their suicide prevention board. I haven't attended one of their meetings lately, and I told the lady, because my mother was in the process of getting very sick and ill, I said, I can't handle it at the same time dealing with her. So completely understood. I will now start to slowly get back into it, and I learn. I listened to a webinar on how funeral directors or cemeterians should learn how to handle, especially somebody that has died by suicide, and how you talk to them. So there's other ways that I'm learning about things.
Like, how do you talk to the families of someone that's committed suicide?
Died by.
Oh, can we talk a little bit about this? So is there a specific way in where funeral homes approach?
It's very different than having a 95-year-old parent pass away.
Okay.
So yes, goes back to, people don't know what to say to the families. They don't.
Right.
So you're best off just saying, I'm sorry, and trying to help other people that are attending the funeral. If they come up to you, it's trying to help them learn what is best to say, so that it's not a trigger to the family. And some people just will ignore you rather than come up to you and talk to you. They'll cross the street. And I'm sorry is all that's needed.
Right.
You know, it makes that family person feel like they are cared for.
Right.
We had, now the other thing with drug overdose, we don't know, you don't know for sure unless there's a note if those are really suicides. We had a young man died by an overdose who was buried at our cemetery. And I went down for that because I always worry, somebody going to pass out, whatever. And their culture was, you watch that casket go down into the grave. That's not an easy thing to do.
It's not. It's not.
No, it's not. And I went over to the dad and I said, do you really want to be here? This is not easy for you. And he said, no. And I stood with him because you don't have to say anything. You just stand with the people, hold their hand, put their arm around them, let them know you care. And that's the important part, letting people know you care, that you have compassion.
Right.
So,
which is, I think, by far one of the most important things that you can offer someone
yes.
in their time of need and
Yes.
in their time of loss.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And sometimes the less said is better,
That's correct.
right? Just stand by someone
That's correct.
and hold their hand if they want to. Just be there, right?
That's exactly right.
And humans, right? We are. Doesn't take much to comfort us, as long as we read the body language,
Yes.
and understand someone, like, and that's the hard part about suicide, right? It's like sometimes the signs are there and we can't read them, right? Nick was talking about earlier today. You were telling Maureen that you still have the email that Matt wrote you.
Yeah.
And, you were reading the email at the time. It didn't seem like a goodbye email, right?
No, I mean, at the time, Matt and I were doing so good.
Right.
We were doing so good, like, and he seemed to be doing so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Remember, he had made the decision to stay home, not live at school that semester. He felt it was the right thing for him to do, and I'm like, yes. You know, he was working through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it happened, and years later, you're reading that same email, and you see it with a different set of eyes. You see it in completely different context. And how can we, right, post-COVID, me, I have to protect me, it's all about me, self-isolation, completely disconnecting from the world around us. How can we now, in a post-COVID era, come to a point where we can fine-tune what we see, to observe and see the signs? Like, how do we do that in a way that could potentially save more lives than we ordinarily would not, if we can't recognize those signs?
So sometimes it's just asking questions. So if you see a friend that you think is not having a good day, ask them, are you okay today? And if it's just a one-off, great. Let them tell that to you. If it's not, and you then you start to see a repeat of that behavior, ask again, and then start asking some questions. And the hard questions are like, what did I say in here? It's talk to them in private, listen to their story. People want somebody to listen to them. Avoid debating the value of life.
What do you think about, when you're in a situation and you feel as though you need to ask these questions, sharing something personal?
Sometimes, yeah, and I do that.
Almost like loosens up the space, opens it up.
Yeah. So, right. So, and I did that with Matt. I used to say, I remember I don't remember the exact story. And I was telling Matt a story about myself. And I said, Poppy, my father, their grandfather, I said, Poppy was right. But, sometimes young adults don't understand that parents really do understand, and that they really have lived. Unfortunately, as you get older, you get wiser. And that's what happens. So, yes, I do believe
that's the trade-off, I believe.
It is.
Right?
If I had this knowledge way back then, whew,
you lose
watch
health,
out.
health, mobility, your knees,
Yeah, I know.
your elbows, all for,
Being wiser.
wiser.
But yes, I do believe in that. I do talk about that because now whether it helps, I don't know. I think you kind of, as you said, you kind of have to read the
Gauge.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I sometimes so we just had mentioned that Matt, we both thought and saw like he was getting better, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there's something there too, almost, that sometimes I don't want to say I kick myself for, but I think sometimes I should have been like, it's happening too quick. Like I think things got too good too quick.
But that's the way he was.
I know.
He moved fast on things.
I know.
That was part of his behavior. That was part of his personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember having this discussion. You talk about I remember him about stressing what kind of job he was going to get when he got out of college and how much money he wanted to make. I'm like, whoa, step back, kid. You one step at a time.
Right.
You know?
You still have your youth to sort of kind of contend with and
Yeah,
deal with and
exactly.
enjoy. Go to the beach.
Yeah.
Take in
Yeah.
some vitamin D.
But he was always anxious and worried, and that was just part of his personality. So one of the things, you're probably wondering why I have this plastic bracelet on my arm.
It's very beautiful.
Yes, isn't it? I have a matching necklace, I want you to know. Matt made this for me when he had to be like, I don't know, 5, 6 or something. I don't know why I ended up saving these, but I have the necklace, and I always try to wear them on Matt's birthday, Matt's date of death, or anything that is Matt related. And obviously, I almost had a panic attack today. I went looking for it, and I like, Kramer, I can't find it. Well, of course he found it.
Yeah.
But yes, so today I wear it in memory of Matt, and this is what I do.
Which actually, I know that we're coming close on time, but I think it's a perfect segue, because I think, we've been talking a lot about the individual going through the process, right?
Yes.
But I think it's really also important to talk about those who then live with that following.
Yes.
And I don't know if your organization works with individuals post the death by suicide.
We call that postvention. So no, we do not. We are more prevention and awareness. But what I will tell you, and I'm hoping other towns have this, I don't know what happened when Matt died. I don't remember any of that, if the town had it or anything. But now our town has a postvention process for those people, whether it be a child or an adult, that die by suicide in our town. Somehow our human services department is notified, and they will figure out the best time to reach out to the family, and then they provide them with all these resources, because no one knows what to do. You don't. So no, our group does not do that. I know, as I said, Newtown has the
But you could provide resources.
We can. Certainly, I can tell them I can tell them. I mean, I'm hoping other towns have that, but if not, we will help them find it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's so important. It's sitting with you here, and then just thinking back, and I just remember, certain things that happened, like blurrily. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was put on suicide prevention watch, like ASAP by the school.
Yep.
And I was so drugged up for months, and then finally we got Friar Mike, who helped me off and actually helped me counsel me and helped me through everything. But I remember sitting in Matt's room. I think it was like, maybe it was after the funeral, and I know we had to wait for months because the ground was frozen and all this stuff.
Yes.
And I remember just kind of like taking some of his clothing and packing it up. And I'm like, it's mine. I'm taking it with me. And then singing "I Will Survive" with Lisa and all of that stuff. But it's stuff that you don't forget, you know?
Right. But it's things that help you get through,
That's part of the grieving process.
Right, of course.
Yes.
It's holding on to those personal items that give you a connection with someone that you can't physically have a connection with.
Yeah, and I say that because I think, like, not everything, but whatever happens, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, in that moment when I'm like crying and asking, can I take this shirt? Like, that's okay.
It is okay. It is absolutely okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have a question for you, because you blew my mind today, which happens often, believe it or not. It does. It really does. So I've always known, the National Suicide Hotline to be, it's 800-273-TALK, right? I think it's 8255.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, it's the ending of our phone number for the show, 334-429-8255, right? GayTalk. But we're talking about the suicide prevention hotline, which is 800-273-8255, right? 273-TALK. But I didn't realize that instead of having to remember those numbers, right, there's a shorter number that works very similar to 911, where you can actually dial it from any phone, text it, and Talk about that
Yes.
because you blew my mind. I did not know this existed.
Same.
This started in 2022. It was launched. It's 988. That is the suicide hotline that you can call or you can text. And yeah, we need to get the word out there because you're not the first people that I've run into
I was
that
like, what?
did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We always promote different things like the Trevor Project.
Yes, and that's one of the ones I was
and-
also going to talk
and
about.
other
Yeah,
orgs like that. But I mean, just to have the 3 digits right in your back pocket. I mean,
that's it.
Right. And you can text it. You can dial it from your cell phone, dial it from a landline.
Anything.
And it's just literally
Yes.
988.
Yes.
That is incredible because
And I would also say, there's a lot of, like we've been talking about, there's a lot of stigma and there's a lot of fear around what suicide looks like, what it means to be, contemplating suicide. But if you even are thinking about dialing 988, you probably should dial the number.
Yes, you should.
right. And and just know, one of the things that, you brought a lot of really good literature here with a lot of really good statistics and information that we can share on the show. But, the one continuous theme that I read in a lot of the text and a lot of the information that you bring is you're not alone. And
You are not
I
alone.
can't tell you how important those words,
Wasn't I singing that earlier? That's so random.
the 4 words, literally 4 words, you are not alone.
Yes.
It's so easy to say, and one never realizes how impactful those 4 words can be to someone. When you can look at someone that's hurting and be like, you're not alone in this. And if you need, ask.
Yes. Jelly Roll. Have you listened to one of his newer songs?
No. Do tell.
It's you need to look it up because I'll never get it correct. He actually sang it last night on the Emmys, and it's "I'm not okay, but it will be all right," and that's so true. That song was like, I swear that song was meant for
Holy crap.
help people.
It's called I'm Not Okay.
I'm not okay.
That's the name of the song. Here's just the first verse. I'm not okay. I'm barely getting by.
Yeah.
I'm losing track of days and I'm losing sleep at night. I am not okay. I'm hanging on the rails. So if I say I'm fine, just know I've learned to hide it well. Lord have mercy. I know I can't be the only one who's holding on for dear life, but God knows I know when it's all said and done, I am not okay. But if it's going to be, but it's all going to be all right. I'm not okay, but we're all going to be all right.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
going to have to listen to that song.
yeah, totally.
Yes, definitely listen to that song.
Thank you.
That song hits
2
home
things
for me.
now that you have enlightened me on. So I'm going to have to go Jelly Roll.
I mean, like, you should take that as a win. Enlightening Tom is a big thing, but
It really is.
so before we wrap this up, I want to make sure that you've covered everything you want to talk about.
Yes.
So if there's anything else you want to share, please share it. But also, I know that this is a grassroots,
Yes.
initiative. Where can people find you, help you? Also, what are your hopes and dreams for this initiative?
Well, my hopes and dreams for this initiative is that we make impact on people. And again, whether it be one person or 1,000 people, I just want to continue to make impacts on people. We have to find new ways of getting the word out, which is hence why I talk to you, Nick. And if somebody would like to reach me, they can call me, 203-733-4562. I'm happy to talk to anybody. And if they want to help out in my initiative, that's great too.
That's wonderful. And I love that your resources name other resources
yes.
as well. Like, for example, you have the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. You have the Trevor Project
Yes.
listed right on here. You have the National Alliance on Mental Health, which is NAMI. You have SAVE, which is Suicide Awareness Voices of Education. And of course, the Parent Connection Inc. of Newtown, which is ctparentconnection.org.
Yes.
That is amazing. We will definitely add all of this information and all these resources, you know, on our tonight's post to make sure that people, you know, if you want to go through, share, and make sure that people are aware. But Maureen, I can't thank you enough for the hard work that you do, the selfless work that you do.
Thank you.
Because it takes someone who has experienced loss and someone with a huge heart to do what you do
Thank you.
and not expect anything in return.
No, I just do it because I loved Matt so much, just as much as Nick did. Well, maybe you loved him a little more.
Just different.
Well,
Just different.
certainly different. Oh my God. Maureen, thank you.
Thank you. I can't thank you enough for allowing me to come on and share this important information.
So as you can see on your screens, if you're watching the show on the live stream, just make sure, you know, if you need to, for whatever reason, just dial 988. It is there. So Nick, anything else that you want to throw?
I'm fine. I'm not crying. It's fine.
Which is, did you take something before the show? I was
No.
expecting a complete like breakdown.
I cry at the drop of a hat. Yours are very strong. I'm like, no, it's happening. No, the last thing I just wanted to say is I just wanted to open it up, Maureen. If there's anything else specifically you wanted to share about Matt, if you wanted to share about your initiative, anything really.
I mean, I miss the kid a lot. I think about him. I think about our great times we had together. He was a really good kid. And as I always have said, I was lucky to have him in my life for 19 years. And that's how I remember things. I was lucky to have that kid. And if I didn't have Matt, I would have never met this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I was lucky to have him for 19 years.
Well, I will tell you, Nick, how long have I known you?
10 years? 11 years?
Yeah,
11 years?
probably 11 years. He's been a blessing in my life. He is one of my dearest friends, although he won't share his location with me anymore. I'm very bitter about that. I'm very bitter about that. But I love him dearly, and I can see why, you know, Matt loved him and why all the people that meet you love you. You're crazy,
You
but
know,
we love you.
The funniest story about the first time I met Matt's family. So Matt had gone home for a certain amount of time. When we first started dating, it's probably a couple months in, and I was going over to his house for the first time. This nervous gay guy, right, who didn't really have a supportive family like Matt did. So I didn't know what to expect, what I was walking into, and it was before GPS.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So I'm driving over to Matt's house, and I'm calling his house phone on my jitterbug. He picks up
Wait,
the phone.
that's the fold phone, right? The foldable ones?
Yeah,
Was it a Razor?
Mine was a block, actually. But,
A block?
Yeah, but
Was it the
I
Ericsson,
drove
like
by his house.
5600?
I drove by his house. I'm not kidding you, probably like 3 or 4 times. And I'm calling him. He's like, "Yeah, you're in the right area," and then would hang up the phone and laugh at me. And his mom was finally like, "Matt." And then I finally got there, and then that's the twins came running out, met them for the first time, and here I am, this gay boy with flowers showing up at the
You
house.
shut up with flowers?
Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
I did. I shut up with flowers.
So extra, and I love it.
Yeah, I should have shown up with flowers for Lisa, but they were for Matt.
Oh my God, that's a beautiful story, though.
Yeah,
I know you loved him dearly, and we love you for forever. You know, keeping his memory alive, both on the show, personally, in our conversations as we, you know, move through this thing we call friendship, him and I. And Maureen, I'm super excited. Please, by all means, you are more than welcome to come sit with us and talk whenever you want.
Oh, I'd love that. Thank you.
You know, we promised that we were going to behave today, but you can come back and join us when we're very, you know, non-behaved. And
she's like, I don't know.
Just sit with us. Just be with us. Oh my God. All right. Well, listen, we need to start wrapping things up. So that said, I'm going to give you some love because I know you have something to do. And there you go.
All right, everybody, here's Mama Kim's Minute. Number 1, Sarah McBride just won her primary and is likely to become the first trans member of Congress. Number 2, gay World War II soldiers' love letters inspired new exhibit that shows love never changes. Number 3, Pete Buttigieg explains why Donald Trump keeps talking about eating cats.
I don't. I don't know what to say about that. I am not going to Ohio. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh my God.
All right, well, ladies and gents, on this day in gay history, when September 16th, 2013, where Israel couple becomes the first to be jointly recognized as biological fathers. Yuval Troper Erez.
Don't try.
And trans man and his husband, Matan, become the first same-sex couple in Israel to be jointly recognized as biological fathers of the same child. Previously, one of the parents was legally required to adopt the child, and that was back in 2013. Did I say that right? Yeah, 2013. Oh, God. It's hard to read from afar when I forgot my glasses upstairs.
Yeah. Also, it's like you're bilingual already.
It is. I think in 3 languages, but I only speak 2. Imagine that. All right. Well, we're going to move on to announcements. If you love the show, make sure that you go subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting service. By doing so, you get the latest and greatest of our show delivered right to your favorite device or web browser as soon as the episodes are published. You can also support us on Patreon, which allows you, our supporters, to support the show with a monetary donation. Those donations can be in any denomination of $1 or more. We connect them monthly. It helps us to pay the bills for the show, and we love you for it. Nick.
All right. Well, couldn't end the show without thanking you for joining us, Maureen. This has been such a pleasure. I'm so happy that you reached out.
I am too.
And I'm just so glad that you're still in my life.
I am too.
Oh, I love it. Never love up in this place.
And I hope we did your initiative justice, because I know we
Yes.
can go a little off the rails sometimes.
No,
You did.
Good.
We got the word out. That was important.
It-
Not
it
about
is.
the initiative, but about awareness.
Yeah.
Of course, and that's the
real
goal.
right.
Yeah.
All right, Trish.
All right, everybody. Don't forget, get the Future Method and all other products today. All products are doctor developed, can clean out without hurting your bum, take confidence anywhere with the anal powder packs, and increase your stretch goals with the 3-piece anal glass dilation kit. Get all the information you need with Dr. G's new book, But Seriously. Visit futuremethod.com to purchase your life-changing bum accessory today.
All right, Nick. It's still. Oh no, it's me.
Yeah.
Where's Jay? I miss Jay. All right, ladies and gents, our show is available on our website, gaytalk20.com, under audio podcasts. It is also available as a free download on Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, and Stitcher Radio.
It's been a long time since you had to read that.
Yes, I know.
All right, you can find us on social media, Facebook, GayTalk 2.0, Instagram, GayTalk 2.0. You can email us at gaytalk2.0@gaytalk20.com. Tom, close us out.
All right, ladies and gents, if you need to reach out to us, just head on over to our website. Click on the Contact Us tab, which is located at the top of your web browser. There you can leave comments, suggest topics, submit a question for the cast, one of our guests, or an individual host. You can also give us a call and leave your voice messages, or your questions on our voicemail. We can answer those for you right on the show. Our phone number is 334-GAY-TALK. And if you need all of those digits, it is 334-429-8255. Don't forget, if you're ever in a situation and where you feel that you need to speak to someone, you can now dial 988. We encourage you to use that, share that, let people know it is a thing, it is active. Ladies and gents, that is our show. Thank you, and y'all have a good night. Bye!
Thank you for listening to this episode of Gay Talk 2.0. Tune in next time for more dish.